Welcome to How to Draw Your First Car. I'm going to begin with a rectangular base. This is a 3D car. Now, for those of you who are beginners at drawing, starting off with a 3D car is not a good idea. So I've included 3 different techniques of how to draw and how to start drawing a car in this video towards the end of the video. But right here at the start, I thought it would be fun to include this 3D drawing of a 1948 Plymouth. I'm building a box frame. This is a box frame. You use the box frame to keep all your lines within the areas of the actual boxed frame. This helps you to judge where your lines begin, how high they need to be, and how long they need to be to go along the side of a car. You need to practice curves. It's important to practice curves and other shapes, especially 3D shapes, if you want to be able to master the skills of 3D drawing. And it's so important when you're developing a drawing like this to build it off a boxed frame. Another important part of drawing a 3D car like this one is focusing on one area or one part of the vehicle at a time. For this stage, I'm just focusing in on the front of the car. After I finish putting in the basic details of the grille and the bumper and the wheel, front wheel, and wheel arch of the front of the car, I'll work my way along the side of the car and draw in the body. As I said, focus in on one area at a time, and it's not so important at this stage to put every detail into your drawing. Next, we're looking at the side of the vehicle. After I finish the side of the vehicle and putting in its basic details, I'm going to be looking at the roof. The roof is very simple. If you ever want to start an easy part of a drawing, begin with the roof. But start out with the box frame, get most parts in, and then put the curves in for your roof. The sun visor requires some straight lines and some curves. Probably the easiest part of your drawing. This here is a light box, and I use it to trace off my original sketch. And what you do with your light box, if you have one, well, you can use some other way of being able to trace off your drawing. Eliminate all the mistakes and only trace the best parts of your drawing. And if you have to move the piece of paper across to make an area shorter, to fix up any other mistakes, as I've done so here, on the original sketch, the back of the car was too long. Here's the finished drawing, and this is Jerry's 1948 Plymouth. When you're drawing, it's important, if you're drawing cars or trucks or vehicles, get to know them from all angles, and when you can, try to view them as a rectangular shape that just has a lot of curves in it. Start out by viewing everything, building it up off a rectangular box shape, and then adding the curves. Here are 2 rectangular box shapes to make this car. You're going to make lots of mistakes, which is fine. Just trace off the parts, the areas that you like, and leave behind the mistakes. These are all cars that I've drawn using a box frame from the Valley Cruiser Car Club. Here I'm demonstrating the importance of drawing 3D shapes. It's so important to practice your skills often if you don't feel like drawing. Doing these exercises of drawing circles, shapes and squares is so important. It's going to help you to draw box shapes and boxed cars a lot easier. It'll make it quicker for you to draw them. Here I'm demonstrating drawing a rectangular box, adding some circles and marking it out to make a boxed car. I put in some angled lines and some curves, circles, rectangle, just to give it the realistic view. But this is a very good car. If you can practice drawing your own boxed car designs, then eventually you can move on to the more realistic 3D cars. Drawing and practicing boxed cars like this one here, will help you to get used to drawing 3D vehicles. After this vehicle, I hope to demonstrate a few more examples. Drawing wavy lines and circles, once again, is so important. Here's the first drawing that I ever learned. I learned how to draw a car. Okay, you need to draw two rectangles, two small boxes, two small squares, and two circles. Going over your drawing and highlighting the areas that you like so that you have a finished product. This is a stage 1 drawing for the very basic beginner learner, and this is where I would suggest you start. After you do a stage 1 drawing, you can then move on to stage 2, and this is a stage 2 without using a rectangle. It is similar to a rectangle, but I've used angled lines. You're going to draw a 2D, two-dimensional car drawing. You're going to draw the front and the back and both sides. In this example, I just draw one side and the front. By practicing these exercises once again is what it takes to become a 3D drawer. Here we are doing more rectangles, and you can do it. I would draw cars like this over and over again. And eventually, when I learned how to do 3D shapes, then I made my cars look more realistic and got into 3D drawing. So start out with a stage 1 car, then move on to this one, which is the stage 2. Putting in the extra details now. And there you have it, the finished stage 2 car. Just a rough sketch, but a good practice drawing. Then after that, you move on to the stage 3. 3D drawing, I would put it as a stage 4. With the stage 3, you're going to be using lines and curves. No longer using rectangular shapes to draw your car. You're going to be practicing using curves and lines. So practice drawing these 3 cars that I've just shown you if you're a beginner, and get used to using these techniques of lines and curves before you move on to the box frame type drawings. Now, just need to put the mirrors in, front lights, there we go, highlight my lines, and there you have it.